What do you do if you catch your mortal enemy, your lifelong rival, in a profoundly private moment? And what if you're trapped in the bathroom, a helpless witness to the whole thing? A braver man would fling the door open, plant his hands on his hips, and unleash a laugh that could curdle milk, delivering a final, crushing blow. The good news: I was, in fact, in the bathroom. The bad news: I was paralyzed because he'd taken my damn clothes. Ethan leaned back against my pillows, a basketball jersey clinging to his torso. The hem kept getting in his way, so he hooked it with his teeth, pulling the fabric taut over his chest. My comforter was bunched up behind him, and beads of sweat from his afternoon practice traced paths from his hairline down onto the jersey's numbered front. And I was frozen in a half-crouch behind the flimsy bathroom door, my world tilting on its axis. An hour ago, I'd clutched my stomach, put on my best dying swan act for my art history professor, and escaped to the dorm. I just finished my business in our cramped bathroom when I heard the dorm room door creak open. My legs, already feeling like jelly, threatened to give out. Pushing the bathroom door open a crack, I saw him. Ethan, still in his practice gear, stood in the middle of our small room, holding a basketball, his eyes scanning the space. Don't get me wrong, Ethan could be a monumental jerk, but the guy was built like a Greek statue. He stood over 6'3", with a chiseled, almost severe face that the jocks and art students alike seemed to find irresistible. His reputation as the star forward was only eclipsed by the rumors about the washboard abs under his jersey. As I was about to call out and startle him, I watched him stoop down, searching for something on my side of the room, on my bed. What in the world? That conniving snake was probably planting something to get me in trouble with the RA. A small, wicked grin spread across my face as I crouched lower, pulling my phone from my pocket. I would record his nefarious deed, catch him red-handed. I wanted to see the look on his face when I exposed his righteous, all-American facade. I thumbed my phone to video and peered through the crack. Ethan lifted my comforter. His hand, large and calloused from years of handling a basketball, slid under my sheets. He felt around for a moment before his fingers closed around something near my pillow. It was a pair of my freshly laundered boxers, set aside for the evening. I frowned, my initial theory crumbling. What was he looking for? Then I watched him. He lifted the boxers. He held them up, inspecting them from all angles as if they were a rare artifact. He lowered his head slightly, and I could have sworn he was bringing the fabric closer to his face, inhaling. I just stood there, my brain short-circuiting. Ethan, the campus golden boy, was a complete and utter creep. The hand holding my underwear was broad, the knuckles a faint shade of pink. I once teased him that for a tough guy, his hands were surprisingly delicate. Now that same hand was on my bed, his profile taut with concentration. The lean muscle of his abdomen was slick with a light sheen of sweat, and further down, oh God, Ethan, that absolute deviant. Was he even human? I held my breath, hiding behind the door, my already weak legs now completely numb. But I didn't dare move. Ethan had been taller than me since we were kids. College had only widened the gap. He was an athlete. I was an art major who considered lifting a heavy canvas a full workout. I glanced from his sculpted physique to the soft hint of a belly I sported. I sighed internally. No, moving was not an option. After what felt like an eternity, Ethan finally seemed to finish his bizarre ritual. He lay back on my bed, his chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm, utterly still. A wave of relief washed over me, and I quietly tried to shake some feeling back into my legs. If I had to stay crouched like this any longer, I might as well charge out there and get pummeled. Anything was better than this slow torture. After 5 minutes of unnerving stillness, Ethan sat up and pulled his jersey over his head. He let out a soft, low chuckle and then, to my horror, started walking toward the bathroom. No, I scrambled back from the door, pressing myself into the corner behind the shower curtain. It was over. If he found me, I was dead. I was fairly certain some very important parts of my anatomy would be forfeited. I huddled by the door, listening to his footsteps grow louder, my heart trying to beat its way out of my chest. I clasped my hands together, mouthing a frantic prayer to God, Santa Claus, Superman, anyone who might be listening, promising a lifetime of, well, a week of good deeds if they'd just save me. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. My stomach plunged. I heard a faint squeak as a hand closed around the old, loose doorknob. The door began to push inward. It opened an inch, then two. A little more or one step forward, and he would see my long, pathetically exposed legs. My pulse was a frantic drum solo in my ears. Then, at the most critical possible second, Ethan's phone buzzed. The sound was a divine intervention. The door, which had been opening, was pulled shut with a soft click. I could hear his muffled voice outside, and he confirmed that he knew something. There was a rustling sound, then the whisper of him pulling on a sweatshirt. The dorm room door opened and closed. I stayed crouched for several more minutes, taking deep, shaky breaths until my legs regained enough feeling to stand. Cautiously, I peered out. The room was empty. A closer inspection revealed that my boxers were gone. That absolute weirdo. And they were my expensive ones, too. I have never, in my entire life, done anything to deserve this from Ethan. Well, maybe a few things, but nothing major. The worst was probably that one little rumor I started. I never imagined he'd retaliate by trying to, what? Turn me gay through sheer force of will? The man was a master strategist of psychological warfare. We were neighbors. We went to the same elementary school, the same middle school, the same high school, and now, by some cruel twist of fate, the same university. This thorn in my side had been making my life difficult since we were 6. I remember trying to learn a finishing move from a video game with my friends in the backyard. He, meanwhile, was off winning some regional science fair. That night, my mom grabbed my ear and lectured me about why I couldn't be more like the exemplary Ethan next door. The next morning, as we met in the driveway, Ethan, Mr. Too cool for school, saw me and covered his mouth to hide a smirk. He asked how my special move was coming along. I saw red. I chased him down the block and kicked his brand new jeans, my mind a flurry of violent, childish fantasies. He, being bigger, simply pinned me against a fence and tickled me until I couldn't breathe. We were both late for school, and I was the only one who got detention. From the hallway, I could see him through the classroom door window, flashing me a smug, 8-toothed grin. That was the day I swore an oath. One day, Ethan would kneel before me. In middle school, I developed a massive crush on a girl. After extensive, snack-fueled bribery of her friends, I learned her type was the quiet, studious kind of guy. I buckled down, studied day and night, and managed to get into the same magnet high school as her. My parents were ecstatic. At a celebratory dinner with both our families, I was showered with praise. I shot a look at Ethan, whose own academic excellence was so consistent it was simply taken for granted. I asked him, with a hint of pride, if he thought the entrance exam was tough. He acknowledged that it was, in fact, quite challenging. I was secretly hoping for a compliment, just a crumb of validation from him, but his response was a dry statement about how it wasn't that bad. Really, and was pretty straightforward. He was so infuriatingly condescending. That night, I vengefully dumped my entire serving of olives. which he despised, onto his plate. He smiled serenely and returned the favor with a heap of broccoli. We glared at each other across the table, chewing our respective poisons while our parents laughed, oblivious. In high school, we both had growth spurts. I drank 3 glasses of milk a day to catch up, but he still ended up half a head taller. To maintain my quiet, studious persona for the girl I liked, I didn't touch a basketball for 2 years. And then, one afternoon on that very basketball court, in front of me, she confessed her feelings to Ethan. The girl, barely 5 feet tall in her ponytail and school t-shirt, looked up shyly at the boy across from her. Ethan, his short hair damp from the game, looked like a hero from some sports manga, all sharp angles and sun-kissed skin. And I stood off to the side, a faceless background character in my baggy clothes. I wanted the world to end. She offered him a pink, scented envelope. Ethan bounced the basketball once, then glanced over at me, his eyes, usually so arrogant, holding a flicker of something I couldn't decipher. He frowned and told her he wasn't planning on dating in high school. With that, he turned and went back to his game without a second look. He'd rejected her. I sadly approached the girl as she was leaving and asked her mournfully if she didn't like quiet, studious guys. She blushed and mumbled that Ethan was just really handsome, then ran off. Handsome? I was handsome too, just not as tan or as built or as tall as him. I was so furious I avoided him for 3 days. That crush and its spectacular failure festered. My desire to merely best Ethan twisted into something darker. During a late-night study hall senior year, a classmate, Megan, passed me a note. She wanted to know what kind of girls Ethan liked, since we were so close. I stared at the words, a bitter jealousy coiling in my gut. I glanced at Ethan, who was asleep at the desk next to mine. An evil smile touched my lips. Shielding the note with my hand, I wrote back a few careful words telling her she was asking the wrong question. Because whoever said Ethan liked girls? I felt a chill run down my spine. I turned. Ethan's dark eyes were open, watching me. He asked if he had been disturbed. I denied making a sound, but guilt was written all over my face. After study hall, I watched him walk out and asked where he was going. He said he was just going to the bathroom. I had a bad feeling and followed him at a distance. Sure enough, he was talking to Megan at the corner of the stairwell. I couldn't hear everything, but I heard my name mentioned. It seemed, however, that Megan hadn't betrayed me. Life went on. But the rumor didn't die. Megan's new boyfriend was on the university basketball team with Ethan. One night at a group dinner at a loud sports bar, I came back from the restroom to hear Megan asking Ethan, with a mischievous grin, if he and I were together yet. The entire table went quiet. Ethan, for his part, just looked stunned. Megan's eyes widened as she exclaimed that she couldn't believe we weren't a couple yet, and wanted to know if I had turned him down. She then loudly reminded everyone how I told her back in high school that Ethan didn't like women. Every eye in the vicinity turned to our table. The guys at our table were trying not to laugh, their faces contorted in pain as they glanced at Ethan's stony expression. Ethan himself, after a moment of shock, looked at me, and there was an unreadable glint in his eyes. This was bad. On the walk back to the dorms, I walked ahead, Ethan following in silence. For years, he had been keeping his distance, a subtle shift that began sometime in high school. The last time we'd been alone like this was the summer after middle school. It was scorching hot, and he'd silently snuck up behind me and dropped an ice cube down the back of my shirt. I chased him, laughing all afternoon. Then, for reasons I never understood, he just stopped. He suddenly grabbed my arm, pushing me against the brick wall of a building under a flickering streetlight. The smell of beer was on his breath. He was close, his face shadowed and intense. I tried to push him away, but it was like trying to move a mountain. He just looked down at me, his long lashes casting shadows on his cheeks, his eyes holding an emotion I couldn't name. I told him not to expect me to carry him back home. He remained silent. I felt a surge of irrational anger. I jabbed a finger into his chest and demanded to know why he never said he didn't like girls. I recounted how he'd rejected the girl I'd liked for 3 years without a glance and turned down every girl who showed interest in him in college. I reminded him about the girl my mom said followed him around all last summer. He frowned, his voice low and steady as he asked if I really wanted him to have accepted her confession. The thought of Ethan with her, even after all this time, sent a sharp pang through my chest. I said of course not, then, trying to salvage the moment, reminded him that we were best brothers. He just looked down at me and asked quietly if he was my brother. He leaned forward, resting his chin on my shoulder. It was heavy. After a moment, he asked if it had to be a girl. I couldn't see his face and told him not to be ridiculous. Back in the present, I sat in front of my easel, the memory replaying in my mind. All I could see was Ethan on my bed. He was trying to get back at me for the rumor. The scheming bastard. To avoid him, I started getting up at dawn and returning to the dorm only when I was sure he'd be asleep. The lack of food and sleep caught up to me. I woke up one afternoon feeling dizzy and weak, my throat on fire. I pushed open the curtain of my loft bed and saw him standing there, holding a glass of water and some pills, his tall frame filling the space. The sight of his face made my head spin even more. All I could picture was him biting the hem of that jersey. He reached up to touch my forehead, and I flinched away. When I saw the flicker of hurt in his dark eyes, I tried to explain, but my voice came out as a dry croak. He didn't say anything, just handed me the medicine and water, then climbed the ladder to tuck my blanket more securely around me. He asked if I was hungry. In my feverish, vulnerable state, I suddenly felt that maybe, despite his recent unsettling behavior, he was still my friend. I couldn't just write him off. I asked him if we could be brothers forever. He didn't answer directly. He just looked at me with a frightening intensity. I told him I wouldn't sleep until he promised. He watched me for a long moment, then reached out, his long arm circling the back of my neck. He pulled me closer, his presence overwhelming, the scent of him filling my senses. I grabbed his shirt, meaning to push him away, but I was so weak it felt more like I was pulling him in. He took my hand and pressed it against his chest. His heart was hammering. He leaned in, his forehead pressed against mine, and asked in a hoarse whisper if I thought this was okay. I must have been hallucinating from the fever. There's no other explanation for the dream I had of Ethan pinning me to the bed and kissing me. After that day, I hid under my covers like an ostrich for a full 24 hours. The fever broke, but I felt like a ghost. When I finally emerged, I learned that Ethan had called in my sick leave, answered my parents' worried phone calls, and even washed the clothes I'd sweated through. My roommate, Mark, clapped me on the shoulder and said that Ethan was a total mom. Wasn't he? I glanced over at Ethan, who was organizing my desk, and my eyes lingered on his lips. I remembered the kiss, the soft pressure, and a shiver ran down my spine. Ethan caught me staring and a slow smile spread across his face. He asked if I needed him to feed me. Quickly looked away, my face burning. The kiss felt like a dream, but the aftermath was real and awkward. Now, even if he'd just gotten out of the shower, Ethan would immediately pull on a shirt if he saw me, as if I was the one with boundary issues. The injustice of it all grated on me. I needed an outside opinion. I couldn't ask Ethan since he was the problem. I had to find Megan. Ethan likes you? Megan sprayed a mouthful of iced coffee across the table at the campus cafe. She stared at me in disbelief. I nodded grimly, expecting this reaction. She looked at me, then her expression shifted to one of pity. "You're only just figuring that out?" she asked, as if I were the dumbest person alive. She explained that after I passed her that note in high school, Ethan had sought her out, thinking she had a crush on me. He'd confessed to her that he was the one who liked me, but that I hadn't figured it out yet. She thought we had a mutual crush and would get together after graduation. She said that she couldn't believe I was so oblivious, and that it must have been tough on Ethan all these years. My mind went blank. On the walk back to campus, Megan's words echoed in my head. I had known, on some level, that Ethan treated me differently. I just assumed it was because I was his only real friend. He was cool and reserved with everyone else, even his own parents. But with me, he was different. When did he start thinking about me in that way? I was so confused. I collapsed onto a bench, my head in my hands. I liked girls. I'd liked that girl for 3 years, the one with the ponytail and her name was Liz? Linda? I froze. I couldn't remember her name. I could remember the scent of her letter, the exact jersey Ethan was wearing that day, the way he frowned, the way he glanced at me before turning away. But the girl herself, she was a blur. Maybe I hadn't liked her as much as I thought. I didn't know how long I sat there before I heard the sound of running shoes on pavement. A pair of worn sneakers stopped in front of me. A warm hand touched my arm, and I heard Ethan's anxious voice asking if my stomach hurt, if I was sick again. I looked up. His hair was damp with sweat, his eyes filled with genuine worry. He must have run all the way here. For some reason, my eyes started to burn. I turned my face away, not wanting him to see. But he gently cupped my jaw, forcing me to look at him as a tear escaped and rolled down my cheek. His thumb, surprisingly gentle, wiped it away. He asked me what was wrong. In a choked voice, I asked him if he could carry me back. He seemed to sag with relief that I wasn't sick, then turned and crouched in front of me. His back was broad and felt impossibly solid, so different from when he'd carried me as a kid. I remembered that summer day, lying on his bed, excitedly telling him that my crush liked quiet boys and betting that I would get a girlfriend before him. After that day, he had started to pull away. Now, lying on his back, my tears dripped onto his neck. He grumbled, telling me not to get snot on him. I indignantly punched his shoulder and told him it was tears. I could feel the vibration of his muffled laughter. He asked why I was crying. I tried to sound nonchalant, telling him it was none of his business. I leaned my head on his shoulder and quietly asked him if he remembered the name of the girl I'd liked. His body tensed for a second, then he resumed walking. He said her name was Sarah, and I asked, a little petulantly, if he remembered her so clearly because he liked her too. He didn't answer right away. Then his voice came, quiet and low, asking if I didn't know who he liked. My face flushed, my mind replaying images of calloused hands and strong muscles. I couldn't bring myself to say I didn't know. We walked in silence for a while. Then he spoke again, his voice so soft it was almost lost in the night air. He asked me not to hate him. He then smiled faintly and wanted to know if I could maybe like him back. My cheeks were on fire, but I managed to ask what was in it for me. Would he call me Daddy? He was silent. I knew it. Too much to ask from a proud man like Ethan. But then he said he could. I was stunned and demanded he do it right then. He refused. I accused him of lying, and he explained it was only under specific circumstances. Back in the dorm, Mark and our other roommate were goofing around. A full, large milkshake went flying, splattering all over Ethan's bed. I stood at the door, looking at the dripping mess, then at Ethan, and a terrible premonition bloomed in my chest. I glanced at Mark's disaster zone of a bed, then at our other roommates, which was somehow even worse. I swallowed hard. Ethan, seeing my expression, put on a pitiful face and said he would just go find a friend in another dorm to crash with. But Mark and the other guy, racked with guilt, insisted he stay. And under the combined pressure of 6 pleading eyes, I reluctantly agreed to let the jerk share my bed for the night. Once we were under the covers, I bunched the comforter up between us, a pathetic little wall. I warned him in a low voice that he was not allowed to cross the boundary. He said nothing,